We wish you a healthy Christmas. We wish you a healthy Christmas. We wish you a healthy Christmas and a happy New Year.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Health Hackers Podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Gina.
And today we have a subscriber question.
Yes, we
We're going to
do.
tackle on the air.
So we have got a question from from Christy. Last name Fairs. I hope I said that correctly. So she referenced someone named Thomas DeLauer. DeLauer. So
it's got a couple million followers. I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, okay. So she says that she is curious about your carb cycle approach because because she's trying to learn more about keto and the low carb lifestyle. She goes on to say, no judgment from her. Great job on your journey. She just wants to pick your brain a little bit. He says, referring to Thomas, that if you are carb cycling, you're putting yourself in a gray area. You are not utilizing fats nor carbs. You're like a master of none, like how you do like how you, Jason, do carb cycling or low carb during the week and not on the weekends. He referring to Thomas,
right,
talked like cyclical keto was much better. 3 or 4 months on keto and 1 or 2 months off. With cyclical, you allow your body enough time to produce ketones. Also, he, referring to Thomas, was talking about targeted keto approach where you can restore your glycogen just by having structured carbs after your workout, like equal fructose and glucose. Next page. Hold tight.
Should be able to.
I'm trying. And some salt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like a rice cake with an apple without the skin, or an orange and a rice cake, something like that. This is all super condensed version of all the sciencey stuff that Thomas gets into. So essentially, she is wanting to know what your take on the carb cycling is.
Okay, and so she's asking about my specific approach.
Yes.
Let me just set this down because that is a lot to unpack. So I want to have the notes here. Mm-hmm. And as we were reading over this earlier, kind of preparing, something you said that stuck with me that I don't even understand like what the question is because there's so much there, right? So all of this points to the fact that nutrition is becoming unnecessarily complicated. Okay?
Agreed.
With one single dietary approach like keto, for example, cyclical ketogenic diet, targeted ketogenic diet, this kind of ketogenic diet, that kind of ketogenic diet, the other kind of ketogenic diet. Okay, that's a lot of nuance. Okay, so when she's referring to my so-called carb cycling approach,
right? All
right, I'll go over that with you. To the true definition of the word, it's not, or the true definition of the term carb cycling, that's not really exactly what it is. Carb cycling is alternating lower carb and higher carb days. If someone's on a carb cycling approach, they may do 2 or 3 low carb days and then 1 or 2 higher carbohydrate days, like 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, or something like that, right? So there's more frequent cycling of carbohydrates compared to what I'm doing. What I'm doing is technically more of a cyclical ketogenic diet for short, although I have to say getting into ketosis or producing ketones is not the primary point behind what I'm talking about. When it comes to weight loss, what we're really trying to accomplish is less dietary energy coming in and more dietary energy going out. That's it in a nutshell. I don't like to work with the phrase calories in, calories out, because then it gets kind of murky, because calories is going to include all types of dietary, all 3 of the dietary macronutrients, protein, carbohydrate, and fat, of which only carbohydrate and fat are technically energy for the body. Protein is not contributing towards energy, will not get converted to body fat, and probably no matter how much of it you ever eat, you probably would never store protein directly as body fat. So it's something different. I would go so far as to say that protein really is the closest thing to free calories you'll get And you might even say that the calories that are coming from protein act almost like negative calories because they cause you to eat less of the other substrates, fat and carbohydrate. So what I do is beginning on Sunday, low carb ketogenic level of about 20 to 25 grams of carbs, net carbs per day, Sunday through Friday. Friday night, I'm switching over to one high carb meal or cheat meal, if you want to call it that, and basically a dessert. Like we'll just say dinner and a dessert. Okay, so that happens within about a 6 hour window, maybe from about 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock or something like that, generally speaking, on Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Okay, after the Saturday night episode, back on the kind of meat and veggies, low carbs, keeping it clean, and I'll go over all the details. I've got it all mapped out right here, so I'll go into a lot of detail with that, exactly how the diet is structured throughout the week. So it's a phase shifting diet. So there's like a low carb ketogenic phase, and then there's a very short high carb refeed kind of phase, 1 or 2 days on the weekend. So can I go back to the notes here so that I don't get sidetracked? The thing of primary importance here is the protein intake. Okay, so ketogenic diets or keto were all the rage back in 2015, 16, 17, 18. As time went by, that starts to sort of diminish a little bit because people are kind of starting to find where the flaws are in the ketogenic diet. A true ketogenic diet is very low in carbohydrate, like I mentioned, maybe less than 20 grams per day. Very high in fat, dietary fat makes up the majority of the calories, and then kind of moderate in protein. Now, that style of ketogenic diet was developed to treat epileptic children so that they would not have seizures. Okay, so that's a true ketogenic diet discovered by my great grandfather, Russell Wilder, at the Mayo Clinic. I'm kidding. He's not my relative, but my family is Wilders, so maybe we are related somewhere along the way. So I'll take credit for being the great-great-grandson of the inventor of keto. So what he was doing was trying to treat epileptic children at the Mayo Clinic, which it works great for that because there's a strong link between carbohydrate intake and neurological function.
Okay, could I pause
Sure,
for just
sure.
a second? So what I just heard you say is that if I were a parent of a child who has epilepsy,
Ketogenic diet would be great.
and that could potentially reduce or eliminate their seizures. So not
Yes.
only is it healthy for you, but it could also
Yes.
be a remedy or
Right.
a
Because
help in their medical condition as well.
yes.
Okay.
So that type of ketogenic diet, because it's super low in carbohydrate and it's a lot higher in fat, allows the body to transition over to using an alternate energy source known as ketones. So there's a little energy molecules that your body produces when there's no glucose. Glucose comes primarily from carbohydrate or sugar, okay? Your body can convert excess protein into glucose, which is the reason why a true ketogenic diet is only a moderate amount of protein because we don't risk any of this getting converted to glucose so that the body and brain can transition over to using ketones, which are an alternate source of energy. Okay, so if people have ever gone on a crash diet, low carb diet, they don't always feel great going into it because it takes a while to get fat adapted or keto adapted, if you want to call it that, because most people are sugar burners. They're just running on this glucose-based metabolism, and the brain can use glucose pretty effectively. Okay, so what you have to understand is for thousands of years of human history, carbohydrate foods were not anywhere and everywhere the way they are now, especially not the way they are now. It wasn't until the agricultural revolution when we started producing crops, farming, domesticating animals and producing crops, that we shifted from a traditional type of hunter-gatherer approach, which would just be mainly protein and maybe some type of wild vegetation. I wouldn't even call it vegetables because it's not cultivated. So maybe things like nuts or seeds, maybe some small berries in season and things like that. So carbohydrate intake was naturally very limited because it just wasn't that available. Occasionally, primitive person might dig up a potato or something and get like some starch that way, or maybe find some honey in the wild and kind of get a glucose reload that way. So glucose from carbohydrate and or from protein, as I mentioned earlier, your body can convert protein into it if it has enough excess to work. But that is stored in the body as glycogen. So glycogen is stored in the muscles. And the way I'm doing this, the way I have this structured is the purpose of the weekend reload meals is to refill glycogen in the muscle, because on a daily basis, I'm doing roughly 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, roughly 30 minutes of strength training type exercise, and in the peak season during the spring and summer, up to an additional hour outside the gym, just walking or doing some outdoor activities. So in order to have enough energy to do all of that, you're going to burn either carbs or fat, or glucose or fat. So if glucose is available, you're just going to use that, which is another reason why I recommend a lower carbohydrate intake, because carbohydrate competes with fat as to be used as energy. And if you have a high glucose level, say you've just eaten something like, for example, a rice cake or something really high in carbs like that, you're just going to be burning the glucose. You're not going to be burning fat. Okay, so generally speaking, you burn more fat at lower intensity levels, just walking around, going about your day, you're burning mostly fat for fuel. When you get up into the higher intensity, like an all-out sprint or lifting something really heavy, maximum effort, your body can't turn fat into energy fast enough to support that type of activity, so it switches over to glycolytic energy production, which is burning glucose stored as glycogen in the muscles. So if there's no glycogen there, it's going to have to burn more. If there's no glucose in the bloodstream and there's not much glycogen in the muscle, it has to burn more body fat. So as I'm training throughout the week, I'm depleting that glycogen level. And normally I can see on the scale body weight is going down day after day after day as I'm losing basically excess water weight and some body fat throughout the week. Lowest body weight is usually on Friday. Now, I've had enough energy from the last weekend's meals to sustain 12 hours worth of training throughout the week, right? So carb frequency has a lot to do with this. And Christy alluded to that in her question about a targeted ketogenic approach. So a targeted ketogenic approach is the one where you would have the most carbohydrates on a day-to-day basis. This is different from carb cycling. Targeted ketogenic approach is being low carb or ketogenic most of the day and saving the majority of the carbohydrates around the workout, either a little bit before and after, or mostly just after a workout to refill the glycogen levels. That's a targeted ketogenic diet. So I'm trying to get more away from the idea of keto and ketones, because technically what this is a low carb, high protein approach. That's what I recommend, because protein is not going to be metabolized as energy the way fat and carbs are. So the more protein you eat, the less energy you end up eating. This is kind of a nuance known as the protein to energy ratio, or the PE ratio. And if we have time today, I can talk about that too. I don't want to really run over 20, 30 minutes. We're already halfway into our time block here. So that may be a subject for another day, or you might, in just a few months, head on over to amazon.com/Jason /author/Jason Atkinson and pick up a copy of my new book that I'm coming out with, Metabolic Mastery. And this is going to be one of the 3 big points here. We're going to be talking about mastering the mindsets, mastering the movement, and then mastering the menu, which is this topic that I'm on today. That's those micronutrients and macronutrients.
Right. It seems like that's where a lot of people struggle too, is, especially if you have not pre-planned your meal and, it's after work, you have the kids, whatever, and you just come home and figure out what are you going to cook, and it's not necessarily the best options because you haven't pre-planned that.
Exactly. Well, and that really, to me, falls more under mindset, because people act like meal prep is some great extravagant thing, All we're really talking about is deciding in advance what you're going to eat and when you're going to eat, rather than just waiting until you're starving and then just eating whatever's available.
Right.
It's just planning ahead. I agree, though. Most people are going to make food choices out of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
They're crunched for time. Everyone's busy. That's why fast food is such a success.
Yes.
That's why prepackaged foods at the grocery store is such a success, because people don't want to cook. They don't have time, right?
Right.
So one little hack, if you want to call it that I do is Sunday afternoons. I don't have a grill. I have an oven at my disposal. So I will take about 12 hamburger patties, a half or quarter pound hamburger patties of 96.4 lean ground beef.
Really? 12?
Yeah, usually 8 or 12. Yeah, that's enough for the whole family. So, okay, if we're going to sit down one night and have burgers, it's already there. All you got to do is heat them up. It's easy. It's convenient. You can cook anything in batches, grilled chicken breast, or we have a sirloin that we get usually at Costco that's easy to heat. It's already cooked.
We love Costco.
We won't go down that rabbit hole. The Costco rabbit. If you're going to stock up on something, stock up on lean meat, salmon, chicken, any type of turkey. Get your whole eggs or your egg whites in bulk. You can get your egg whites in bulk.
That sirloin is pretty good, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little.
It is. But it's a time saver,
Yeah.
And it's already cooked. It's ready to go.
All you have to
lay
do
it out the night
put it in the pan,
It's just
warm it up. Yeah,
having an idea of when you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, and how you're going to eat, and that's what really makes it all stick. Now, I do not have visual here on Clubhouse. I think I'm still on here. Okay, okay. So we've got somebody here. You were supposed to be keeping an eye on this. All right, this gentleman has a question, and we'll try to get him.
Matthew?
Yeah, he's right here. Matthew, are you there?
Do we need to
I'm gonna wave, invite.
invite to speak?
I think he said he wanted to speak. He asked to be. Oh, look. Are we on mute this whole
I
time?
hope not.
I know.
Hmm.
It looks like it, huh?
It does. I'm not overly familiar with.
What does it say? Hello, he says. Okay. All right. What happened?
Here, I can see if I can get him.
All right, that's technical. All right, I'll let you.
I'll let you
deal with that because we have video rolling here. So.
Right.
All right. Anyway, I don't know if Clubhouse is going to end up being a usable format or not. If any of these apps have too many bugs, then I can't.
Right.
I can't deal with all that while I'm trying to read and follow all the bullet points here. So. Okay. Well, I don't know if anyone was listening live, but we will try that again next Sunday, 2 p.m. And if you don't want to join live or you can't join us live, comment on any of the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're all over the internet on any major podcasting platform. There should be a way to message or comment. You can do it there. And I will be checking throughout the week to see what our subscribers are actually wanting to know more about. I don't know if there it is right there. That's the event right there. That's ridiculous. I guess.
Okay, we'll figure out.
It just kicked me out.
Clubhouse. Yeah.
Clubhouse may have been muted the entire time. I don't. All right. You were going to ask about.
I did. So I was given this wonderful drink, Rain. I don't buy energy drinks, so it was purchased for me. Jason, you picked this one up, as a matter of fact.
White gummy bear?
Is white gummy bear. I don't eat gummy bears, but the drink isn't terrible. But I did see that part of their marketing, I guess, is BCAA aminos and coenzyme Q10.
And there's one more?
Electrolytes.
Right.
Well, most people know what electrolytes are.
Okay, what are they? Most people. Okay. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, I'll take a stab at those. You got 3 ingredients there.
Right. So
You're
why are they
confused about.
going to? Yeah. So
All right.
why are they
So
marketing these things to me if the
well, they're not
majority of people
marketing.
don't know what these things are?
Some people do, and they might choose this because they know what it is and they want that. So
Okay.
BCAA is short for branch chain amino acids.
Okay.
The big 3: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Those are the major building blocks of protein. There are 20 amino acids in all, 9 of which are considered essential, so we can't manufacture them on our own. We have to take them in through food or supplements.
Does that mean
Out
there's
of the
protein
9,
industry?
3 of those essential aminos are known as the branch chain amino acids. Those are the major ones, okay?
Okay.
So 20 in all, 9 essential, 3 branch chain.
Okay.
Now, it's not complete protein. It's a building block for protein. So
Okay.
once you have all your aminos, your body puts them all together and forms a protein molecule out of
Okay.
it. Okay, so this is just raw material that you can use towards the building and rebuilding.
Okay.
Preferable to branch chain amino acids would be a complete protein. That will be any animal source protein: beef, fish, chicken, turkey, eggs, egg whites, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, whey protein. Anything of animal origin that is a protein food will be a complete protein.
Okay.
Vegetable or plant-based type proteins tend to be incomplete. That is, we have to combine the aminos from one thing with the aminos from another thing to get a complete amino. The classic example for a vegetarian or vegan diet is rice and beans, because the grains have some of the aminos and the legumes have the other aminos. So when they're combined, that forms a complete protein molecule that the body can use to rebuild muscle. So why would a bodybuilder want some branch chain amino acids? Just to stay topped off, just to stay in that optimal muscle building state around the clock, right? So if someone is athletic, if they're training, they're doing some weightlifting type activity or strength training or bodybuilding type activity, you're tearing down the muscle tissue. So the faster you can get aminos, the faster you can get protein in there to start repairing, the better. Branch chains are already broken down. So they're kind of, you could look at that as being kind of partially digested maybe, and therefore more absorbable than a complete protein. So we kind of bypass it. Now, leucine is the main one. If you don't hit your leucine threshold of 6 grams, that complete protein, which any animal source protein should be over 6 grams. Okay, so that's the limit. You were going to say?
Oh, so you gave me a picture in my head. It's like we're
you're just building stuff,
or like putting a puzzle together.
Right.
You need all these little pieces to make the thing to make it. Okay.
Right. So there you go. All right. So branch chain amino. All right. Next up, we got coenzyme Q10. Okay.
Sounds fancy.
Also known as CoQ10, the fancy vitamin. CoQ10 is a cofactor for things that happen in your body. Physiological processes, metabolic processes require CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10 as a cofactor. It is an essential nutrient. Most people who purchase this as a supplement are going to do that because they are taking a statin drug for cholesterol, and statin lowers your CoQ10 or depletes your CoQ10 level.
That was going to be my next question.
So it entered the public lexicon because people know CoQ10 as being a supplement. It does have a little something to do with energy production in the body, so that's why you would add it to something like an energy drink, right?
Okay.
All right, and then finally we have electrolytes,
which most people know about,
including you. So what are they?
I don't know too much about them, except the doctors say make sure they get the electrolytes if you're dehydrated. And
Okay.
If I had to guess what it is, I would say it is the salty substance tasting in
You're
here.
onto something with your saltiness. I mean, not your saltiness, but the salty tone that you use when you describe it. All right, so what we're talking about, the body is electrical. Okay, your nerves, your nervous system, they're like wires going throughout the body that,
right.
Energy can travel through, like electricity can travel through. Okay, we literally test this. If you put electrolytes in solution, if you put actual electric wire in that solution, the signal travels faster where it's surrounded by electrolytes. So they are minerals, technically what they are. Sodium is the main one that everyone is familiar with, right? magnesium, potassium. There's I don't know all of them. I can't say them right offhand, but there are several others. But those are the main ones. Sodium is the main one. So that's why. This was a question on Jeopardy the other night. Remember?
It was, and I got it
The
right.
same thing that's in blood,
Blood,
sweat, and tears.
And I got it right.
And what is it?
Sodium.
Right.
Nobody else knew.
Sodium.
The Jeopardy champions did not know this.
Because they said it was a metallic element. I guessed incorrectly, like the contestant guessed the same thing, iron. That was my answer because he said metallic element. So I didn't know sodium was metallic, but now I do. Right?
I didn't know it was metallic either,
but we did know that it was in blood, sweat, and tears because when you bleed or you sweat or cry, you know that tastes salty. And at some point, you've had all that and tasted it, right? So you know that it's salty. And that is because the body is electrical. We need that to conduct electricity in the body. It's for energy production. These are also minerals that get depleted too. So magnesium in particular, when you move your body from point A to point B, that process requires magnesium. If you don't have sufficient magnesium in your diet, which most people don't because it's supposed to be in the foods through the soil, but there's no magnesium in the soil because the soil is depleted from certain agricultural processes like row crop, industrial food system. That soil does not have magnesium in it, so the foods don't have magnesium in it. So it's almost essential to supplement it to have adequate magnesium because if you don't, your body will leach it from your bones, which is where all your minerals are stored in your body. That can lead to osteoporosis, osteopenia, bone weakening, especially with women over the age of 50 are known to be set up for problems later in life. That's how most people end up breaking a bone and die from osteoporosis.
It was almost like you were reading my mind because that was going to be my exact next question. Okay. What does it do? And you already answered. You just answered that. It was almost like you were inside my head.
Now you know why. Okay, so I don't need anyone to comment their questions. I can read your mind, and whatever it is you want to know, that's what I'll answer on the next episode. I think that's enough for one day. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you should not leave them thinking that you can read their minds, that they should go ahead and send their questions to us.
Find us on all those social media channels that I mentioned earlier. Subscribe. If I have so many subscribers on each channel, I don't care if some of them are the same people. I can't add it all up, right? So you could be bumping the count up higher just by doing that, by being on multiple platforms. I try to vary the content so it's not the exact. I can't stand this when people put the exact same content on every, like you check on Twitter, they said the same thing. Facebook, they said the same thing. Instagram, they said the same thing. Like, oh, okay, that's boring. I wanted a little different content on every channel, every platform. So I try to do that, which is time consuming. So if you would like to support this free show.
That's a cute little graphic, but gosh, you're going to make me read something? Amazon.com/author/Jason Atkinson. Okay. In case you don't know how to spell that, that is ATKINSON. Atkinson, like the Atkins diet, but Atkinson.
Yeah. And pick up a copy of Live Like an Athlete. It's my first book. Some of that material is not exactly what I've learned more since I wrote it. So that's why I'm working on it. I got to update some of the material because it's not synced up. But that is a product that I have out there that someone could purchase to help support what we're doing here. We got some sponsors. We got Elite. Let's see. I want to say Elite Athlete. No, I'm sorry. Enhanced Athlete. They changed the name. It's Enhanced Labs now. So you can go to enhancedlabs.com. Use the code HACKERS to save an additional 10% off of any of the products that you purchase there. I did an entire 30-minute podcast with Rob from Enhanced, and he broke down all his best tips and techniques on nutrition and training and mindset. That was pretty good, actually. Had Danny on the show. I'm doing little tidbits of that right now. That is available as audio everywhere the podcasts are found. I'm getting the YouTube out there in the next 2-3 days. So, check that out. We discussed a product that I really like from Enhanced that is a glucose disposal agent. So people are trying to get on a lower carbohydrate way of doing things. That helps keep blood sugar down. So
We could talk about that on
we
our
will.
next podcast,
Okay.
what
Yeah, I want
that
to talk about
is and
blood sugar.
why people use it.
Right.
Yeah.
But go listen to that one because we already described everything and went into detail with all the
Mhm.
ingredients and what it does. But I do
Okay.
love that product, hackersenhancedlab.com. And the product is called SLIN, which is kind of a code for insulin. It's kind of a code. It's SLIN. It's like
Slim.
a slang term for
SLYN.
SLIN.
Okay.
SLIN. Yeah.
SLIN.
All right, that's all the time we got for
Okay.
today. 30 minutes is up. Peace out.